Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and joining me is Sunny of Sunny's Starlight. Hi, Sunny. Welcome.
Hi, Melanie. Thank you. Lovely to see you again. Oh, can I just check? Are we sort of observing our social distancing? Because I think I'm too close. Hang on. Let me just move back a bit.
Sunny, you
Am
are
I
in
far
England
enough?
and I'm in Chicago, so I think we're far enough away. So,
So sorry, silly sausage I am.
all right. So,
Okay, we're good.
Sunny had a great idea for me, and that was to watch some classic films and talk about them because he is so full of knowledge about Bollywood and old Bollywood films. And so both films are based on one of my all-time favorite Hollywood films called It Happened One Night, which is starring Clark
Can,
Gable and
sorry,
Olivia
I
de
was just going to
Havilland.
say,
What?
no, it's not. It's not Olivia de Havilland. Oh, I can't
What?
believe you said that. It's Claudette Colbert.
Oh, you're right. It's
Claudette
Claudette
Colbert.
Colbert.
Right. So
Claudette Colbert.
let's just give them a little background. What happened, how this started was because we communicate on Twitter quite a lot, and you posted a picture which said, "What are your favorite films, or can you recognize this scene?" And you posted that iconic scene where Clark Gable is supposed to show Claudette Colbert how to hitchhike a lift with a thumb,
Right.
and of
Yes.
course he tries and tries and he fails, and then she says, "Do you mind if I have a go?" And he said, "Go ahead." And then she just lifts her skirt and flashes her leg.
That shows independence. You don't care whether they stop or not. You got money in your pocket, see?
Clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but number two, that's a little wider movement. Smile goes with this one like this.
So that was a picture you posted. And from that, I said, "Oh, one of my all-time favorite films." But did you know that they made two Hindi versions of this? And the one that I recommended was Chori Chori, starring Raj Kapoor and Nargis. So that's how we started. So go ahead. Sorry.
So I was aware that Chori Chori was a remake, and I actually owned the DVD, but I had never sat down to watch it. So that
Right.
film is from 1956, and It Happened One Night is from 1936. And It Happened One Night was a huge success. The Oscars, it won 5 Oscars: Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director for Frank Capra, Best Writer for the script. It was Best Picture. Huge film. And it's only 90 minutes long. It's a screwball comedy, and it is just great because Claudette Colbert is playing this society girl on the run, and then Clark Gable is this hard-boiled reporter that she runs into on her escapade, her escape. So the remakes are interesting in how the casting is. So we have Nargis playing, and Raj Kapoor. And then the Dil Hai Ka Manta Nahin. Now, what exactly does the 1991 Aamir Khan title mean? What does that mean?
Okay, so it's pronounced Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin, which basically translates to "the heart won't listen."
The
Or
heart
the
won't
heart.
listen.
Yeah. And it starred Pooja Bhatt, and it was directed by Mahesh Bhatt. So obviously Mahesh Bhatt is the father of Alia Bhatt, and Pooja Bhatt is Alia's elder stepsister. But we'll get into the sort of each film bit by bit. But what I wanted to say was that obviously you had the DVD of Chori Chori, so you knew that quite well. Did you actually watch the black and white version, or did you watch the
Yep.
restored color version?
I didn't watch the colorized. My DVD was the Moser Bear version, so I don't know if it had been remastered, or it definitely
Yeah,
was black and white. It was not colorized.
yeah,
So I mean, I kind of wanted to watch it in its original, incarnation anyway. I mean, but
yeah.
it is available on YouTube with the colorized version, and then the Aamir Khan 1991 film, I couldn't find it anywhere except Ian Thuzon, you know, so that beggars can't be choosers. That's where I was able to find that one. Now the Aamir Khan one.
Can I just
go ahead.
Just interrupt? I was just going to say, from now on, you are going to refer to the Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin as the Aamir Khan one, aren't you?
Okay, Sonny's called me out. You're right. When I'm hesitating on how to pronounce, the Aamir Khan one, the 1991 remake. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that.
But it's interesting. So both of the Hindi films, I think, are about 2.5 hours long. So one of the things that increases the length from the original 90-minute, because some of these, each of them are almost shot by shot remakes in some ways of key scenes from It Happened One Night. What they expand with, obviously, are songs. And being that these are older films, there's so many songs, especially the 1956 film. Oh my God, the soundtrack of the 1956 one, amazing. But anyway, some of that length is filled with songs, but also some of the length, it seems like both films were sort of a parade of side characters, people doing, famous character actors kind of doing walk-on parts like Johnny Walker, in the 1991 films. And so, there were pluses and minuses with both remakes. I don't have a problem with remaking a film. I just want to say that right up front because I think it's such a great story about a difference in class and people meeting each other that otherwise they might never have met, falling in love. And just, I love a road story, which this is definitely a road story. They're on a bus together in both films, all three films. They're on a bus. And so, it's a fun story. Some of it, like they added extra comedy bits that probably was hilarious to the people at the time who knew these actors, but maybe wasn't quite so hilarious for me. And also the people who played the fathers, so she's running away from her father in both films. There's a scene where she literally, in the beginning, I'm not giving anything away, this is the first 5-10 minutes, she jumps off a ship because her father wants to keep her from marrying a ne'er-do-well. Interestingly, in the Chori Chori, he's a pilot, but I thought it was better that in the 1991, he's an actor. And so I thought that was a better, like, my society daughter is not marrying this low-class actor who's just after her money. So, there's this great scene, where she confronts her father. Now, in the original, in the Chori Chori, it's an actor, I think his name is Gope. Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Gope, yeah. He was a very sort of famous side character. Also did a lot of comedy as well. So a lot of the side roles that you had in Chori Chori were comedians like Johnny Walker, Bhagwan, who's the rickshaw driver with his wife, and Gope. So of course, like you said, yes, it was panned out or filled out with a lot more character actors, and which It Happened One Night didn't actually have. So,
right, exactly.
But what I wanted to say was that, don't you think that this story actually lent itself to a musical, because it was such a short story that it actually really, the songs just lifted it. It became a musical, both versions, the Indian version, and it actually, lent itself to that story. So I thought it was fantastic. Just to go back on the music on Chori Chori, that won the best Filmfare Award for original score for that album, because all the songs, even till this date, are so popular. It's unbelievable. They're all classics.
Yes.
Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin, the Aamir Khan one, that had a good musical score, but it's not that well remembered. It was at the time because the music producers, Nadeem Shravan, had just had a huge hit with Ashiki 2 under Mahesh Bhatt. So that was an absolutely popular album. But I think the title song did quite well. But with Chori Chori, the music was by Shankar Jaikishan, and all the songs were just so iconic. They really were.
I mean, the what's the name of the singer? Because I was like, oh my gosh, this shows how long her career is, because she did Chori Chori all the way.
Lata Mangeshkar. Lata Mangeshkar. I mean, all the songs. I can even sing you songs now if you wanted to. It's like they're stuck in your brain because they're just so iconic.
And especially because there was all those duets, because they would stop for the night, and
yes.
part of it is that they set up a blanket to separate the beds. But both rich girls are like, oh, like, you're not going to sleep in this room with me. And then Raj Kapoor or Aamir Khan go outside the hotel, and so the duets are great because they're both, they're expressing their longing or whatever, but they're separated, but they each get verses of the music, and I think it's great. Although I don't remember the name of the song, but there's a fun one where in the Dil Hai Ka Manta Nahin, where
yes.
where Pooja is singing about her love of the actor. I don't remember the actor's name, but she's looking at his picture.
That's
and then
right.
Aamir Khan pulls out his wallet and he's singing to a blank wallet.
Yes.
Which
you don't know.
I love, he does great with that, of kind of mocking her and like, oh, my love, I love. And that was maybe my favorite song, because Aamir was so good at being playful like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Clark Gable is so iconic. Everyone thinks of him from Gone with the Wind. This film was a few years earlier, but I think he has that hard-boiled reporter, no nonsense. I'm not going to, I'm not going to deal with any of your high society nonsense kind of. And I just don't think that Aamir Khan at the age of 25 quite had that.
No, he didn't. Yeah, no, Raj Kapoor had it, but I think you're right. Aamir Khan just didn't have that kind of gravitas of somebody who's well-worn and, has seen life and is rough and tough kind of guy. Yeah. But just to go back to that thing about having the blankets and sleeping separately, people might think it's just an Indian thing, but it actually happened it happened one night as well, where they put a string and they put a blanket in between. So it almost, I felt like it was an Indian version anyway when I watched it. I mean, it is one of my favorite films of all time.
Well, and the 1936, it was actually quite racy for its time.
Yes.
Because Clark Gable, she's just sitting there like, what do you mean? We're going to share a room? And he's put up the blanket, but he starts undressing. And so you see him in an undershirt. Oh my God, we're 1936. That was pretty damn racy.
No, he actually took his undershirt off as well. So he was bare-chested. I watched that recently as well. So he was completely bare-chested in those days for a man on screen. And of course, he had the trousers up to his waist, the fashion of those days. Yeah. So
but it's a running theme about, so there's a gospel Bible song called the Trumpets of Jericho or whatever, that Joshua blew the trumpets, and it's a Bible story, and then the walls of this fort fell down.
Yes.
And that's a running theme through It Happened One Night. And then when they finally marry at the end, you hear this trumpet blast, the blanket
and
fall.
It's the punchline, isn't it? It's the punchline right at the end.
Right.
But the thing with the Indian version with Raj Kapoor, did you not find that it very much looked like the Clark Gable, because the fashions in those days, where men had trilby hats, women had short haircuts, they wore modern outfits, and a lot of the 1950s films actually reflected very much like the sort of 50s and 40s of Hollywood. So it's only sort of changed in the 1960s in Bollywood. So if you go back, a lot of people can actually relate to a lot of the Hollywood movies, and of course. The one thing that became a craze with the Aamir Khan film was his captain's cap.
Okay, I thought that was absolutely ridiculous with the little chain bling.
Yeah. Apparently, the story was that he was looking for something unique. So he went to all these markets, flea markets, looking for something like this, and he found this hat. So eventually, he found this, and he thought, right, this is the hat for me. Because the hat actually plays a very integral part right towards the end, where he has to give his hat away to the guy so he can get some petrol. So, even in all three films, actually. So that was integral. But yeah, that was the story behind Aamir Khan's silly hat. But then, the public went mad and they started sort of mimicking this and going out and buying those hats. So you saw a lot of people in the 90s wearing that hat. I didn't, obviously. Yeah. But just going back to the Chori Chori one again, I mean, Raj Kapoor did actually look a little bit like Clark Gable
He did.
in those days. And if you look at the color version, I mean, Raj Kapoor actually had blue eyes, bluey green eyes. He was a very handsome man. He was, I mean, all the Kapoor brothers are very, very handsome. This,
Okay, I might take exception about Rishi, but okay.
well, okay. No, I'm talking about Raj Kapoor,
Oh,
Shami Kapoor, and of course your latest discovery, Shashi Kapoor.
Yep.
So you have to watch him. But yeah, they're all very handsome, all three brothers. And of course, I think a lot of people might know that Raj Kapoor and Nargis were a very hot couple on and off screen, because Raj Kapoor actually started a very little background, but Raj Kapoor actually started his own studio at the age of 23, the youngest person ever. And he kind of formed this rat pack, if you like. So he had himself, he had Nargis as part of the rat pack. He had Shankar Jaikishan, the musician. He had his singer, the playback singer Mukesh. He had the lyricist Shailendra. So, you know, these were like the Rat Pack, and all his films had all these people collaborating. So all his films were really, really popular. And unfortunately, this was the very last film of Nargis and Raj Kapoor, because they came to an end, because I think Raj Kapoor would not leave his wife. And Nargis decided to make Mother India after that, and she met her future husband, Sunil Dutt. So that was the story behind Chori Chori, which was a shame, because they were such a popular couple.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
the chemistry. You can,
chemistry's...
it's off the charts. It's one of those things. To me, it reminded me like Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, another long time, you know, affair couple where he would never leave his wife. And just, but you could just see that chemistry and that love on screen. And they're both, especially Nargis, just actors at the absolute top of their game. So excellent. I mean, I knew it was going to be great. The only other film of theirs that I've seen is Shri 420, which I really enjoyed. Also kind of a screwball, you know, comedy with iconic songs that have, you know, lasted on to today. But yeah, I need to see more Nargis films, because he made a more impression on me than Raj. I know he's, you know, multi-talented, you know, director, like you say, owning the studio and all of that. But oh my gosh, she was something else.
But I mean, she had her greatest hits with his films. I mean, Shri Char Service or 420, basically, yes, it was a sort of a comedy and what have you, but it had a deep social message in there. And what Raj Kapoor did was excellently that he had these social messages in his films. Two of his films, and the one that you must watch is one called Avara, which was one of their biggest hits, because it means vagrant or vagabond, basically.
Okay.
And basically, it's a story about nature versus nurture. So it was a social message. And that film completely took over the world, because even Russia, I mean, it is so well known because of that film in Russia. That film, even now, Russians remember it. Turkey, Greece, I mean, all of that area, the Baltic area, they revere Raj Kapoor. When he goes there, they treat him, or when he went there, they treated him like a god. Even Nargis, they went and made a trip. And they were so loved. Even now, when they have these talent shows like American Idol or Pop Idol or something like that, they sing the songs from Avara on the shows. So that film I would recommend as the next one. Absolutely iconic. And it has a very young Shashi Kapoor playing the young part of Raj Kapoor. So you'll love that. It's really, really good. But that's just slightly off topic, but that's the next one I would recommend for you to watch. In terms of Chori Chori, I think, you know, as I said before, we had these side characters. So we had a lot of sort of diversifying from the real story of it happened one night. But let me tell you that Dil Heke Manta Nahin was an exact copy, dialogue for dialogue, scene for scene, because I watched all three of them recently. And I thought, well, of course, Chori Chori had some other bits in there which were quite original. But Dil Heke Manta Nahin, apart from the songs, every single dialogue that was and scene that was in the original Clark Gable film was replicated in the Aamir Khan film.
From the beginning, the newspapers on the seat, What was missing in Chori Chori is they didn't have the hitchhiking scene. You know, they had, a different bit of comedic business, screwball thing, but that's one of my favorite scenes from It Happened One Night, and I was waiting for it, and they didn't have that. And maybe it was too racy for her to lift up and show her ankles. I don't know,
exactly
but I mean, seeing that was one of Aamir's best scenes in Dil Hai Manta Nahin, was him doing all the different thumbs and showing her this. Okay, well, if it's a truck, I'm going to do this, and he's showing her all. And then she comes up there and just lifts her dress a little bit, and that's it. And then he's like, "Don't go." What they added though, was that whole shootout scene though. It was like they did add a whole kidnapping shootout craziness. That was really over the top. And also I think Anupam Kher,
it was way over the top.
Too much.
Yeah. oh, careful. No, I agree, because I found that Gope did a really good job close to the original Clark Gable film, where he was a caring father. But Anupam Kher went almost comical, cartoonish character. It was too much. So I think for me, Chori Chori stands a much closer adaptation to it, even though it wasn't copied scene for scene. But the dialogues were exactly the same in Dil Hai Manta Nahin. I actually saw myself, because I saw both films back to back, the original Clark Gable film and then Dil Hai Manta Nahin, because I've seen Chori Chori millions of times. And I suddenly found that the dialogues were exactly word for word. The situations were word for, scene by scene. Of course, they added bits like this ridiculous fight scene and the kidnapping. But yes, you're right. In the original, it was too racy for Nargis to lift a leg, show a leg. And then we had in Dil Hai Manta Nahin, Pooja Bhatt does actually lift her skirt, but she only lifts it slightly. So again, even in the 90s, I think it was a little bit sort of frowned upon. But well, yeah,
I will tell you. I will tell you a bit of dialogue that made me want to throw up in Chori Chori. And that was when Nargis thinks that Raj Kapoor has left her. She doesn't find the note under the pillow, and the innkeeper says, calls her a whore or a slut or whatever, and kicks her out. And no one has ever spoken to her like that. So she's just so crushed and calls her dad to rescue her. And then when she falls in tears into her dad's arms, she says something like, it should have been, I wish we were back to the days when the only times a girl left her house was to get married and to die. And I'm like, ugh. Like, oh my God. I mean, in one way, they're making the point that she's speaking so differently than she did at the beginning. Yes. But it was so far. I mean, that her dad was supposed to be like something really happened to you for you to be talking like this. But it was so far. I'm like, ugh.
I completely agree, because I did think that as soon as that scene came on, I said, I bet Melanie's going to be up in arms about this. How can women talk like this? But if you notice that her father had given her so much freedom, she was a completely modern girl. She did as she pleased. She was headstrong. So precisely because of that, when she spoke like that, her dad could see the change, because she's talking like a normal sort of middle-class Indian woman at that time, which is to say, the only time she'll leave her house is when she gets married or she dies. She wouldn't have said that. So her dad suddenly, he suddenly realizes she has changed completely. So I agree with you. I mean, modern times we would go, ugh, but that was needed to actually, I agree. The scene in Dil Hai Manta Nahin, again, they didn't quite have that. But if you notice, they did have similar sort of setups in all three films, where you see that change occurring when they talk to the fathers. And, the fathers kind of realize that, yes, this person, my daughter, has gone through the change of realizing that, she's not the same person that she was before.
Right. Well, I mean, here you have Nargis, such an accomplished actress. And Pooja, this was, I believe, her first feature lead role. So I thought she did a good job, but I mean, she's no Claudette Colbert, she's no Nargis.
No.
You know what I mean? She's just not. She occasionally has some moments of really, going there, but she's just. And again, Aamir is not. He's like baby Aamir. I mean, this is only a year after Dil. This is a couple years after Kayamat Tak. Am I saying it right? Which
absolutely not. I love it. I love it when you butcher names, but it's good. No, it's okay. No, it was close, but no cigar. So it was Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak.
The Romeo and Juliet one where he dies.
Yeah. Oh, now you've given the ending away for people who wanted to watch it.
1988. I mean, so, but I do think that this film, what I read was this really, after those two hits, this really cemented him as a major star. You know?
Because he had some, his first film was an absolute hit, Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak. Then he had a string of flops and some really forgetful films, all of them, in fact. Then he had Dil with Madhuri Dixit, and she was a slightly bigger star than him, so that film did really well. And then again, he had another 5 or 6 terrible films in between, which he'd signed earlier on. And then this came along at the right time, and it kind of cemented him. And then he started slowly getting better roles and making better film choices. Again, he still did go through a couple of sort of flops and things like that. But I think the next one that came up with was with Salman Bhai, Andaz Apna Apna, which wasn't a huge box office hit, but people loved that film. It's become very iconic. And then, of course, then he started gradually. But I think it was Sarfarosh, which then cemented him because he's played a very serious character of a police officer. So that film cemented it. Pooja Bhatt had done one film before this, which was called Serb, directed by her father, Mahesh Bhatt, starring Anupam Kher. It was almost like the film To Serve with Love with Sidney Poitier.
Okay.
I know. I can't remember it, but it's almost something like that. But the problem that Pooja Bhatt had in this film was that she'd never lip synced to any songs, so she found it really difficult. So when her father said lip sync to these songs, she said, I can't do it, and she kept fluffing up all the shots. So he went over and he slapped her, and he said, right, you just get on with it, otherwise I'm going to throw you out of the film. So of course she started. Now I did find Pooja Bhatt had some moments of excellence, but overall I found her really annoying at times because and her acting was very much similar throughout her career until I think later on, just before she retired, she had some amazing roles, even though they were tiny. She did some amazing roles, and I thought she's grown up, and if she'd carried on a little bit longer, I think she would have, really impressed people. But most of her roles were these sort of brattish, and I don't know if you noticed, but people kept taking the digs at her because she has this lisp, a very slight lisp. So she had that, and she wasn't your typical sort of Bollywood actress at the time. She was very short as well, and of course in this film she had these long sort of skirts which went up to her knees, her ankles. So I think it just made the whole sort of made her look very tiny, like a little doll.
Well,
so
I mean, she's next to Aamir, so he's towering over her. So
true.
So she's small, but I mean the costuming. Yes, it was the 90s, but oh my God, like it's like my eyes with these colors and everything of the clothes that Aamir was wearing and everything.
Well, no, also, she had a very tiny bag, but yet she had so many costume changes. So where did she stuff all these sort of like flowy outfits? But let me tell you that I have actually stood next to Aamir Khan, so he's even shorter than me. So I
think he's only supposed to be like 5'6" or something. Like he is.
Yeah, I was 5'8", or was 5'8" at the time. But we were waiting at Mumbai airport, and I was waiting to collect my sister who was coming over from the UK, and Aamir was there to greet somebody, and he stood next to me, and I think he'd just had his first hit, Kayamat Se Kayamat Tak. So not many people kind of knew him, but I knew him, so I said hello to him. And then, of course, before my sister could come out, lo and behold, the superstar and my favorite, Rekha, walked out. And I just ran to her. And I said, oh, my God, hi, Rekha, how are you? and I started talking to her. So I left Aamir behind, and I couldn't care less. And then my sister came out and said, she tapped Rekha on the shoulder. That she said, "I told you my brother would forget about me and rush straight to you." And she said, "Oh, this is your brother." And yeah, so I met two people at the time. My favorite, Rekha
I
and
have a
Aamir
feeling
Khan.
you would do the same today.
I would absolutely.
Like you'd leave Aamir in the dust and you'd run right over.
I would push him to one side and say, "Sorry, Aamir, Rekha, the legend, the beauty, the goddess. Yes, I would rather go and talk to her." But yes, it was brilliant. Yeah, so I think.
I mean, watching it, I kept thinking, what would Aamir have, like, of 10 years later, have done with this part? You know what I'm saying? When he had a little bit more seasoning to him.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, there was moments of excellence in both of them in this film, but just not necessarily the consistency. And I just couldn't get past the fact, like, this kid, he's a baby right now. He's like a baby. Yeah. And he just doesn't quite have that world-weary, because I know this part. I know it's supposed to be somebody who is really world-weary and whatever, and he couldn't quite pull that off at 25 or 26. But, Aamir at 37, oh yeah, he would have killed it. Totally would have.
I think also, I mean, if you look at Chori Chori, it's still regarded as a classic, just like It Happened One Night. It's just iconic, both those films. Whereas the Aamir Khan film, Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin, it stayed around for a little while. It's kind of disappeared from people's minds now. And also, I think it's, I looked at it recently, it kind of sort of looks a little bit dated as such. Whereas Chori Chori still seems very evergreen, very classic. I can sit down and watch it again and again for all the songs as well. Ye raat bigi bigi, ye mast fizaye, utha dheere dheere, wo chand pyara pyara. When they're singing To the Moon, do you remember?
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs. But all the songs are absolutely iconic. I mean, you'll hear them. Anybody, if you mention any of the songs, they'll hum it to you and sing it to you like I did. So, but with the Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin, I can only recall 2 songs out of that.
I mean, it was a fun pastime watch, but you're right. It doesn't have that iconic classic. I could watch this a million times. I could listen to the soundtrack a million times kind of feel that Chori Chori does. And it is sad that Nargis and Raj Kapoor ended their partnership. I think they did appear, maybe she came out as a cameo or something in a later film. But
it was called Jagte Raho, where it was already in production. So Raj Kapoor had made that film, and then she made a very small cameo at the end, and that was the very last part that she played. Just going back to Chori Chori, it was directed by a person called Anand Thakur. We mentioned Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin was done by Mahesh Bhatt, which is Pooja Bhatt's dad. So that was quite famous. But Anand Thakur, he's a nobody because he made about 5 films. So this was his most famous film. But he didn't really direct it because it was directed by Raj. Raj Kapoor was directing it because he was just there holding it together when Raj was on screen. So, but Raj Kapoor was really directing behind the scenes, which is the story. So yeah, this director never really made it big at all.
And the funny thing is, that's the way Aamir Khan is now, right?
Yes. And the story with Aamir and Pooja was that they were involved during the making of this film.
Oh, really?
Even though he was married. And they had such cat fights because they would fall out at the smallest things. And so they said it's like watching Tom and Jerry. They actually, her uncle and her father nicknamed both of them Tom and Jerry during the making of the film. And the people loved their chemistry, but they never worked together again because they had such a sort of tumultuous, exactly. And then they broke up after that. So yeah, there was a lot of sort of background story to that as well. So yeah, it's funny how these films have, I don't know if Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert actually had a relationship as such. I can't remember. But maybe this film is just one of those things where it brings these people really close together. And, you've got that tension to start with. And of course, either it makes them or breaks them, one of the two. So,
right. Yeah.
But I think the original with Claudette Colbert, I mean, I just thought the acting was top notch with both of them. I felt similarly with Chori Chori, although with Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahin, like you said, Aamir was just too baby face, and Pooja was very new and just a little bit annoying at times. So I found, I mean, which one okay, let's put this to a vote now. So which version out of the two Indian versions did you prefer overall?
Oh, Chori Chori, of course. I mean,
Right.
I can say there's individual scenes that I really enjoyed
Yeah.
in Manta Nahin, like especially the hitchhike scene, which is
Yes.
missing from Chori Chori. But you know, and they just seeing Nargis and Raj Kapoor fight over the suitcase that they're kicking back and forth. You know, yeah,
Yes.
Aamir and Pooja are doing the exact same scene, but it's just cuter. It's just, you know, I'd prefer to watch the chemistry of Raj Kapoor and Nargis any day, right? And
Yeah.
and the music is just even if it's not their character singing, one of the first music numbers is when she jumps into the ocean. Nargis jumps into the ocean to escape her father, and she kind of grabs onto these passing boats, and they're
Fishing
doing this
boats.
elaborate song, and oh my
Yeah.
gosh, and it's the oars, or you know, the oar, and the whole thing was just amazing. And I was thinking about the filming of that and how beautiful it was. And so it's not only has these intimate songs, but it has some big spectacle songs. There's a scene where they come across a village, and there's a marionette
Oh, I was
play
going to
going
mention that.
on.
Yes.
And then Nargis is kind of imagining she and Raj Kapoor as the marionettes fighting with each other and dancing. And that made me think of that Paheli, which is one of my favorite Shah Rukh Khan films with Rani Mukherjee. I'm like, okay, that whole thing was probably an homage to this scene from this film. The whole, you know, there's a running thing with puppets and Paheli, and there's a whole number like that where they're on strings. And I'm like, okay, this is an homage straight back to this song.
Yeah. Now, I was going to mention that to you because in those days, I mean, I thought it was done brilliantly. Nobody had come up with that concept of being marionettes on strings. And so Raj Kapoor and Nargis, when they did it, it was just awesome. And people loved that song. And then, of course, when I first saw Paheli, I just thought, no, that is just a straight sort of inspiration from Chori Chori. I don't think any other film's actually ever done it.
I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere else. I mean,
I've seen more films than you have, but
I know
I really don't think anybody else has ever done it. If any of the viewers sort of wish to correct me, I will stand corrected. But to my knowledge, I've never ever seen another sort of film do that marionette thing throughout a whole song. So I mean, they might have done it without the strings, you know, the robotic dance or whatever, but I don't think they've actually done it with the strings.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I just thought, you know, it was a perfect kind of fantasy song, and it just flowed so well in the song. And so, tell me a little bit also, because this is a film when it came out in Hollywood. This is a film that came out in the height of the Depression. So it is about class. It is about a rich person seeing what it's like to be hungry, seeing what it's like to go without, to have to sleep outside because you don't have a place to stay even. It's all about class. It's you know, it's all of that. And that the reporter Clark Gable character wants to cut her down to size, but also feels like he's not worthy to be a suitor for her, you know, until she says that. So, and he feels like he has to run off and get $1,000 to be able to have money to support her and to marry her. And so there's a similar scenes in both of these films, but did their names mean something that immediately showed they were of different classes? Is there something, or was it just the fact that?
No, I think the names had nothing to do with that implied class. I think it was just the setup was quite clear from their backgrounds, their clothing, their sort of attitude towards life. The names didn't actually give anything away. I think, you know, in both films, I mean, although the 90s film, I mean, it didn't give that kind of richness that Pooja Bhatt would have should have shown, I think.
Right.
You know, the other two films definitely did. So, yeah, I don't think the name had any giveaway to us as an Indian audience. Purely, we were set up for it with the initial scene where she's actually on a yacht that's owned by her father, and then she's wearing all these modern clothes with pants and shirts and the short haircut. So, you know, it was the sort of high society women who emulated kind of Western styles. We had that. And then, of course, you did see her quite a lot in saris after that.
Yes.
On her travels. Yeah. So, you know, she didn't have those kind of clothes later on. So I think, again, that brought it back to the Indian audience for a little bit more acceptance, I think. But, you know, the films of the 40s and 50s, they did actually emulate quite a lot throughout the whole film in terms of style to the Hollywood films. I mean, if you look at Avara again, you'll see Nargis in sort of like evening gowns and things like that with the short hair, you know, people in suits, sort of dinner bow ties and things like that. So yeah, people actually emulated the Hollywood. I would love to sort of watch more of those films. We've kind of lost that grandeur in Bollywood. But I would thoroughly recommend to people to go and watch Avara, but also I would say watch the restored color version of Chori Chori, because they've done an excellent job on that. It was a proper restoration that was done by the Indian Film Society, whoever the big body is. So they did an excellent job. And of course, you'll get to see Raj Kapoor's blue eyes. And of course, the look between the two is so much better. But I did like the black and white version because it plays around with shadows, and you know, it had that Capra-esque feel to it as well. I mean, we all love Frank Capra. You know, loads of his films. I mean, the most iconic classical is It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I love the black and white version, but I would also recommend watching the color version because it just brings a whole new depth to it, but also gives you the feeling of being old and classic as well. Something like Gone with the Wind, if you like, at the time, you know, the colorized version of it. So yeah,
I think this is a movie. So it's been since 1991. I do think this is a film that possibly could be remade
again.
You know, because
yes, I think so.
I think, especially right now, we have kind of that. Well, in America, at least, I mean, we have a heightened class difference and wealth difference, and a story about, you know, a rich girl kind of seeing how the other half lives, and going on a journey with somebody else. I think, you know, I think would resonate again with audiences. I don't know who my dream cast would be.
I was just going to say, I was just going to say, who would you cast in the new one then?
I don't know. You know,
I'll tell you what. All the actors are looking too pretty. Apart from, I would say, probably Hrithik Roshan after seeing him in War, where he looks very rugged. So I would say possibly Hrithik might fill that role with that.
I don't know if he could quite pull off the.
No, I don't think.
World-weary sarcasm. You know, maybe.
No. Well, he kind of did in Bang Bang and stuff like that. But that's the only actor that I can see who has that weary look, because ever since he showed off his greys recently in War and that haggard look. In fact, did you see the making of that where he paints the lines on his head so he gets wrinkles? I mean, he doesn't have wrinkles, for God's sake. You know, I hate that man.
I have a feeling there's a little Botox going on.
Possibly. I'm not, allegedly, we must say allegedly. But talking about class films, I mean, yes, it would go down really well. And of course, you love rom-coms. America's in dire needs of rom-coms.
Yes.
We need a musical. Recently, we've had two big Hollywood films which were about class distinction. Parasite, as we know, and Knives Out. Very different films, but exactly the same thing about the class difference. So I think America has kind of sort of seen that recently. Even I think you could remake this in America. I think.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, I definitely think you could.
And if they went down the musical route, I mean, I think it would be brilliant, because I don't think. See, this is what Hollywood's missing now, because what Bollywood's been doing is rehashing old films again. They're not so distant past anyway, but Hollywood hasn't sort of recreated any of the old classics again. So what they could do now is to turn something like the old films, like this It Happened One Night, into a musical new version, and that would be a totally different experience.
Yeah, I
Some
love
classics.
musicals, but even if it wasn't a musical, I agree. There's this last year, there's really started to be. You gave the two best examples: Parasite, which obviously is a South Korean film, and now that we're all trapped at home, it has even more resonance. There's a character that's trapped in a basement, and in that film, it's just come on streaming this week on a service called Hulu here in the States. And I know I've been seeing all these people posting it who hadn't caught it. It played in theaters for months here. I've never seen a foreign film, especially South Korean, to create such a sensation and so many people hearing about it and the word of mouth and going to see it. And I was so thrilled that a film with subtitles actually won the Best Picture Oscar. I just feel like that shows all the work they put into expanding the Academy, inviting. I mean, there are Bollywood actors, Salman Khan and Aamir Khan are members of the Academy and so forth. So, Zoya Akhtar and all that. So, all of these international voters are having an impact on which kind of films are being chosen. You can't just say anymore, well, the film that's going to win is one that a 65-year-old white male living in Hollywood would vote on. But Knives Out, you're right, is also another biting social commentary about class. And if you haven't seen it, highly, highly recommend.
Oh, me too.
It's Rian Johnson of Star Wars fame.
I know. Don't mention it just yet, because people might be put off because what he did to Star Wars, but he did an excellent job with Knives Out. He did
But it's so fun to see all of these actors that we're used to seeing. For instance, Captain America, Chris Evans himself, is playing a little bit of a bad boy character with amazing sweaters. I guess just for his sweaters. I learned what the deal was with those. They're called fisherman sweaters, and that they would have a unique pattern, because if the fisherman died and they couldn't recognize the body, they could recognize the knit of the sweater. That's why it's so unique and intricate. But anyway, I mean, you have Daniel Craig with this crazy Southern accent as this crazy guy.
And completely cuckoo as well, because he's just sitting there in the corner of the room, and everyone's just thinking, well, okay, who is he? But then they don't mind him any business. But then he's sat there, and you think, well, that's just weird, the way he's just sat there. And then eventually he'll say something. It's just weird.
But it's
Can I just say something?
Yeah, it's so delicious because you have all of these actors who are willing to take smaller parts, like Michael Shannon, who's so accomplished, and he's playing the nebbishy son or whatever. I love those kind of films where you have all of these stars together, an ensemble like that. And I think it's going to be a series, so which is exciting. Because everyone had such a strong response. But in the film, there is a maid, and it's played by a South American actress. And she is, there's all of this people making little asides to her, and it's a commentary on how she had been the companion caretaker for this elderly man. You have all these people in your lives, and people call her family, but they don't treat her. Sometimes they treat her like family, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just treat her like a maid. And it really, so something like that. I know people in India, they're used to having all this house staff, for instance, right now, and they're in quarantine, and they don't have that. And so I think in America, we're quarantined, and you're thinking about all the people who normally, cut your hair, just the frontline workers, and not just the healthcare workers right now. It's the people working in the supermarket, the people, truck drivers, or the warehouse workers, or whatever, who are considered essential workers. I'm sure it's the same, in the
same
UK.
here. And I mean, just a funny story. Before we started recording this, every Thursday at 8:00, everybody goes outside in the street and just clap for our health workers, because what a wonderful job they're doing. And so I'd just gone out and clapped for them, came in and set everything up again and started talking to you. But just touching on the subject of coronavirus, I think, I know every country's had its problems and everything's sort of, everyone's criticizing or scoring political points. And I think people should just forget about all that political point scoring and just sort of say, look, we're all in this together. It's just as plain as simple as this. You either live or you die. That's it. It's as simple as that. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think
luckily,
these films were showing everyone is the same,
yes,
whether you're from high
that's it.
society or you're a humble reporter or whatever. And that's what we're all experiencing right now. So I think in a way, these are perfect films, because I can't think of anything else where everyone in the world is really affected by something. I mean, even world wars kind of were different depending on where you were,
where you were globally,
experiencing it. I mean, like in America, in Iowa, we weren't experiencing the blitz that people living in London were experiencing, the bombing.
Yeah.
So it was very different. But this is something that's really unifying everyone.
Yes.
And so I think the message of these films of everybody being the same, I think it really resonates.
Well, the real life example right now for us in England is that this virus does not care about class or status, because Prince Charles had it, Boris Johnson had it,
right, exactly.
As well. So like it doesn't go over somebody's head just because they're of a different class or they have money or they have power. It'll get anybody. So everybody's on an equal footing here. So yeah, it kind of, what we're talking about these films is kind of reflecting in our real life at the moment. So I think, in a time like this, I think, watch these kind of films, take the kind of examples, even as a metaphor that they projected. It might have been a very simple message there for a different time, but I think it's certainly more relatable now, where everybody is a prisoner in their own home now.
Yeah.
So, she was a prisoner of her dad on this luxury boat, yacht, and she was trying to escape. We're all trying to escape, but we know that, going out in that big bad world, we don't know what the situation is, what the landscape is, just as she didn't know either, and she had to be guided through by somebody. So I think, we have to be guided through, and that, we should listen to some of the advice that people are giving us, which is to say, stay safe, stay indoors, stay calm, and just
watch
be alive.
Movies.
And watch movies. Do you know, this is what gets me, that people, when it was a normal time, people had to get up for work and they'd go, oh, I wish I didn't have to go to work. Now they've got all this time and they're complaining, I can't go outside. Take this time to watch movies, be creative, read that novel that you wanted to, learn a new language, preferably Hindi, so you can watch more Bollywood films, do a YouTube channel, whatever, let your creative juices flow. And I think, this is the time to do it whilst we have got that time. And you may sort of find yourself actually getting more creative, because people who get bored suddenly find that they're trying to invent new ways of keeping busy. And I've seen a lot of things on the internet. I'm sure you have as well. So, we've had Zoom pub meetings and quizzes, and my nephew's 21st birthday party was on Sunday, and we couldn't get together. So we had a Zoom party for him. And the theme was Club Tropicana. So we had to dress up in Hawaiian t-shirts and have leis around our necks, and the women had flowers in their hair. And so, we cut the cake virtually. So
here we're doing also drive-by birthdays. So I started seeing it with little kids, like the teachers would drive by their house, and so then you have to have social distancing, but you can wave. But some of my son's younger friends who are in high school are having birthdays, and that's what the friends do. They can't gather, but maybe they drive by and they talk a little bit from their car and so forth. And it's really hard, and sometimes it's hard to concentrate. You're looking sometimes for lighter entertainment, and I think these two films really were perfect for me at this time, because I'm struggling. People have recommended some films that are really dark, and you know what? I just don't want to go there right now.
No.
And these are the kind of films. movies can transport you to another place. They can be, I call it comfort watch, sometimes when you're in a dark place, you can return to a familiar film, like for you watching Chori Chori, which you've watched so many times, but yet make you remember happier times and also just transport you to another place. And anyone who thinks artists are not important, or actors, or creative people are not important, I think we're all seeing at this time how vital they are to our society, because we can't get by without healthcare workers and grocery workers and all of these people. But what would we be doing if we didn't have these stories and films and books to read and music to listen to get to transport us and get us out of these dark places right now?
But even though it was light and fluffy for you to escape, it still made you think about the analogies of today. Yeah. So even though they're light and fluffy, you can still relate. It still sort of stimulates your brain about things. But not in a very.
It's several levels.
Yeah, that's right.
It has the screwball comedy aspects.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, some of those songs are some of the most emotional songs I've ever seen in Hindi cinema. The longing that they have for each other when they feel like, even though they're close by, but they feel like they're worlds apart. Just exceptional lyrics, exceptional songs, and so there's a whole variety of emotions. But I'm just saying it's not super, super dark.
Well, no, I mean, you don't want to go super dark, obviously. But, it does make you think at different levels. Like I said, subconsciously, we've just talked about it. Yeah. But just for my satisfaction and the viewers as well, I got to ask very briefly, how is Ben doing?
Ben is doing great, and thank you for asking, because I did a couple of live streams when I was really quarantined because we thought he had COVID-19, and our whole family was on complete lockdown. My oldest son works as a pharmacy tech, so he has been going to work at a grocery store pharmacy. And I mean, he has to come home, strip all his clothes, and shower immediately to try to protect all of us. But he has been going to work, and that week he couldn't work because he thought he had been exposed to his brother who had COVID-19. It turned out that Ben has, we call it mononucleosis, the kissing disease. So he had extreme fatigue. There was a window where he had a few days without fever, and we were able to take him to the doctor. My sister-in-law is a nurse, and so she kind of through FaceTime was saying, if you have that bad of a sore throat, and you're feeling like this, maybe you should get a mono test and a strep test to see. And he did test positive for mononucleosis. So he's feeling so much better, but he lost about 17 pounds in 1 week because his throat was so sore that he couldn't really eat. Yeah. And it was hard even to drink a lot. I would have taken him to the ER if not everything wasn't going on what's going on. Sure. So, but he is bounced back, and
great.
And he's doing great right now. So, we're just all a little stir crazy, but he's doing really well. Yeah.
That's really great that he's doing well. But now I think the mother in you should kick in and say, hang on a minute, you've got a kissing disease. Who have you been kissing? And I'll get it out of you. Get it out of him. Just find out who he's been kissing.
Yeah, you can. Well, it's very common among college students and high school students, this particular illness. And the funny thing is, you can catch it like 4 to 6 weeks before. So you could even have shared a drink together with somebody.
Oh, I don't think so. I think there was French kissing involved in this somewhere.
I have no idea, but he doesn't want to be he has been teased about it.
Well, you can tease him from me as well and say Sonny was saying this, and maybe he'll see the video. He'll sort of go and hide somewhere in a corner.
So I had told him if he's feeling better, like right now he's got all this makeup work for all the classes that he's missed. Even though you're online, he's still in college and he's still trying to catch up with everything. Being sick for 2 weeks did not help.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping to be able to, since we're still going to be stuck together he's not going back to college. I'm hoping to maybe get him to do a video with me, maybe watch a movie together.
Yes. That would be excellent. And people are saying that in 9 months' time, we're either going to have a baby boom or a huge divorce outbreak. So
Yeah, I
make
mean,
sure,
for some
make sure
families,
you and
yeah,
Mark are separate. Yeah, make sure you and Mark are separate. You
a
have your
little bit
me
too
time.
much, a little bit too much togetherness. Let's just say there's a reason why I go to the movie theater normally 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, I
No,
treasure some a little alone time, and it's hard. It's hard. I know
yeah,
we're lucky we're in a big enough house we can all kind of spread
yeah,
out and not be on top of each other. But I know these are trying times for everybody, and I just hope everyone is staying healthy, stay well, and please stay
yes,
safe and keep that distancing. It's difficult, but this is how I guess we're going to make it through. And I don't know what the new normal is going to be when we get out of this. I was
yeah,
just reading an article yesterday about all the steps that Hollywood is going to have to go through
yes,
with their insurance policies and everything to be able to start up filming things again, TV
yeah,
shows, movies, all these things that have just completely shut down, because you've got to especially protect the stars that they do not, like,
yes,
look at Tom Hanks came down in Australia with COVID-19. How like, people are going to have to be tested and have their temperature taken to get on, but normally you have so many people on a set. They were saying
yes,
any kind of crowd scene or any kind of crowded room will probably have to be a CGI kind of a situation.
yes.
But even so, just having to limit people on set and not have as many people, not as many crew, and just wondering if your show had a scene in a restaurant, what's that really going to look like, going
Well,
forward?
funnily enough, I saw that today because all our live shows are currently being filmed at home by these presenters, and I was watching Stephen Colbert earlier on, and so of course your shows like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, they're all doing them from home, and Stephen Colbert said, "What's going to happen is you'll go into don't be surprised if you go into a restaurant and the waiter has a mask and he has a glove and you have disposable sort of menus as well." That kind of that could be the new norm. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just some news in today. So today we found out with the daily updates from the government that we've got a further 3 weeks of lockdown till the 7th of May.
Yeah.
India has extended their lockdown till the 3rd of May, I believe. I would urge people in India, please, please, please follow the government guidelines, because there are some terrible things happening in India where the public just do not understand. They're attacking doctors. And I think, these are the people that you need to be proud of and protect, because they're going to be the ones who are going to save your life if you need them. So do not attack the doctors. It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. It's something that's happened to the rest of the world as well. So please treat these people right and do not attack them. We've even heard of instances where the police have had their arms chopped off in Punjab, and
Oh my God.
it's just awful. It's just awful. If people, you need to just make sure you look after your family, because somebody in your family falls sick, you'll need these people, and look after each other, because this is what I've done on my road. We have 30 houses. I've set up a WhatsApp group. We're looking after each other. We're communicating. We're passing on messages. We're helping each other in terms of shopping. If somebody gets a slot for delivery, we'll all jump onto it. We've had a couple of people who tried to burglarize our road, taking the opportunity during this virus pandemic. And I went and enrolled with the police, with the neighborhood watch, gave everybody stickers, put the signs up everywhere yesterday. So, we've become a very joint, very close-knit community. This is what you need. You need to become close as a community and look after people. These people didn't know each other, and I've got them together, and they're so grateful because, and we have a fun time on the WhatsApp group as well, because we exchange funny ideas and jokes and movie ideas. So yeah, something you could do with your friends or your neighbors. Again, we've got Zoom.
There are silver linings of, in some ways, it's drawing families closer together. And I know here in the States, where all the kids are having to do online classes and parents are having to teach them at home, they're gaining a new appreciation for teachers and what all that they do. And I can't even kind of I was on a Zoom group with my, I do a Bollywood dance class. We did a Zoom dance class last night. But talking to the ladies, you know, they have different relatives that are doctors and are just talking about, we can't even imagine how bad it is in the hospitals here in the States. And some of these doctors and nurses know they may be the last person that can see some of these ill patients with the virus, because in the hospitals here, they're not allowing any family to visit. And it's just really,
it's terrible.
It's terrible. And there's no funerals. There's no funerals. It's really, it's hard on the families. It's not super bad where I live, but people have been trying to be extra careful. And I think, you know, your hospitals are going to get overwhelmed if we don't continue this. I mean, when they said it was going to be 2 weeks, and then my husband and I were like, I think it's going to be longer than two weeks. And it's really hard. And I don't know what the new normal is going to be when we come out of this. I think there's a lot of society changes. It'll be interesting, the movies that are made about this time, right? And
yes. I'm looking forward to those. I mean, you know, I think the only movie that people are sort of watching and recommending, I think on streaming services, is Contagion, which, you know.
Well, there's a Malayalam film that, if you haven't seen it, is called Virus, and it's about the Nipah virus in Kerala. Yes. And I think it's a great film, and it really shows how heroic the health workers were. That is even a much more lethal virus than what we're dealing with now, and all that they went to try to investigate who was the patient zero, where did this come from, and locking it, all the extreme measures they had to go to lock everything down. So that's an excellent film that's streaming, I believe, on Amazon Prime.
Yes,
but you're right. I think there'll be a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of writers who are just stuck at home and are creating. And I've heard about in India. I read an article about virtual writers' rooms where people have been able to collaborate with each other via Zoom, where normally they wouldn't have worked together, because normally a writer's room is you're all together in the same place. So I'm really going to, there are creative things that are happening that wouldn't have happened if not for this pandemic. So
this is what I was talking about. This is when your creative juices will sort of come together, and, you know, you'll start thinking and making excellent content. So I can't wait for the future when this is all over, if it's all over completely. But on some good news, I was speaking to a friend last night in Greece, who I've known for years and years and years. And I was amazed that Greece, because they took their steps really early, they've only had 2,000 cases and only 90 deaths.
Wow.
And I looked it up on Google, and yes, Greece is doing excellent. And, you know, people always sort of said it's an old people's disease, but now we've had young people catching it. We had a poor nurse who was in her 20s give birth to a baby, and she died yesterday in this country. But we've also had some good stories where a war veteran who was 102 and an old woman of 106, they both
I
came
saw
out
the
of
video
hospital.
of the woman that was 106.
And then of course we have this sort of war hero. He did around where he lived, he did a walk of a couple of 100 miles, and he thought he was just going to raise £1,000. He's raised £12 million from the internet. So there are some really good stories out there, and I think people should focus on the good and not so much the negative. But, you know, there is no discrimination where this plague is going to fly over and who's going to catch it and who's not. So, you know, let's just be all safe, and that's the main thing. But, you know, let's do some more of these old Bollywood films. And I think, you know, if we are going to review another one, I would suggest Avara, which is an absolute classic, or, you know, something even more iconic like Mughal Azam or Mother India, you know, those kind of films. But Avara has a very strong
I'm interested in both of those. Mother India has been on my list for a long time.
Oh, everyone's list.
And I just, you know, like I said, this is my second film seeing Nargis, but just my appreciation I gained again just for how fabulous she is. And I know that is her iconic film. I mean, it's the iconic film of Indian cinema. So definitely,
It'll blow your mind. Her acting will just blow your mind completely.
yeah.
And you know, she was she did that film straight after Chori Chori, so you know what she looked like at the time.
Yeah.
But she plays a very a
Yeah,
young
it's all
woman
different
too,
phases of life.
phase of her life. And then, of course, she met her true life husband. The true story was that there was a scene with the fire, and she got trapped, and so nobody would run to her rescue. So the actor Sunil Dutt actually jumped into the flames, rescued her, and that's how they fell in love.
Right, just like
So
Om Shanti Om, which is
that is exactly where they got that inspiration
exactly
from.
right.
That is it. I mean, there's no denying that. Farah Khan has actually admitted that that's where her inspiration came from.
It was an homage.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sunny, for joining me and suggesting these films. This was fantastic. Definitely, we have to do this again. And so looking for us again. Where can they find you on the internet? You're on. Is your Twitter is?
It's the same as my YouTube channel. So it's Sunnys, SUNNYS, and then Starlight. But it's the same handle on Twitter, because a lot of people don't know that we're both very active on Twitter as well. Some very funny stuff going to and fro from us. So also on my channel, I must say that I haven't posted a lot of stuff on my channel recently, and I apologize to anybody who goes over there. But I've had a lot of stuff which has been blocked recently. And of course, with the pandemic, there isn't much content. But I did think about making some videos about some of these older films. So I may do that. Now that you've got me sort of creating more creative again, so I might watch some of these again and sort of do some more. But thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I love it. And so you can find me on Twitter at Pardesi YT. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and check out Sunny's channel as well.